Yeah. We back at it again. What's up? What's up? What's upward? What's downward? What's inward? I am your host, Amias Asium. Am I as I am, as you are. Once again, before I start the episode for today, just going to promote my clothing line. This is my clothing line once again. It's called Amias Asium. Am I as I am, which is why I start my episodes off a certain way because I say am I as I am, as you are. And it all stands for something. It all means something. Uh, I'm not just saying things to say things. I'm not just doing things to do things. It kind of aligns, and everything is within its own natural orbit and in sync of each other. Okay. Um, just wanted to basically, I felt the need to touch upon what we know as principle, because I mentioned this word principle a lot in my video cast, and um, I'm not too sure if certain individuals have a grasp upon what is principle. What is this principle thing? What is this thing you keep mentioning called principle? What does it stand for? What is the purpose of it? So basically, of course, I got my cranberry juice clean out. Um, I felt the need and the want to dive into what I speak of called principle, and to kind of make it a little more clearer to the understanding of what I'm pertaining to and what I'm talking about. Um, so I guess we can touch upon it. And of course, you already know the procedure. You should be familiar already with the procedure. Um, I go line for line, or what I call doorway for doorway, and then I uh, say a line or say a doorway, and from that point on, uh, I channel what I receive from each channel or from each line and doorway, and I open it up. And of course, we take it from that point forward, as usual, in our regular order. So, I guess we'll go by the first line. And the first line or the first doorway is principles. Why principle? Why should I acknowledge principle? What is principle? Well, when you are principle, it is to supervise, monitor, and manage your feelings, emotions, and thoughts as they occur spontaneously, unpredictably, and subconsciously. And as you consciously supervise, monitor, and manage them in a silently centered space of patience, observance, and awareness, a respectful distance and space creates instantly between you and them, between your reality and that reality of existence. Two parallel existences in synchronicity with each other, between you and another. In other words, it's about giving another an opportunity to experience their own uh, inherent divine freedom. In other words, for a chance of their own self-liberation. So basically, when you're principled, you're being the middle pillar or the middle world. You're being something in the middle. You're neither for, you're neither against. It's neither bad, it's neither good. It's neither pure, it's neither evil. You remain in the middle. Even though you are a body which can bounce back and forth from judgment to judgment, from your own pure observation and experience of the experience at hand, you stay within the middle. She's bad, she's good. He's bad. He's good. He's negative. He's positive. She's negative. She's positive. I don't care. I do care. I love. I hate. Being principle or acknowledging principle is acknowledging the middle pillar of reality. So no matter what side you choose, consciously choose to play in and play as and play with, you never fall victim too far to the left. You never fall victim too far to the right. You know how to balance this reality. And once you understand true balance is imbalance. I always give the example of a tightrope walker. And the person who walks the tightrope may be walking the tightrope with this stick that bounces and balances, and he's wobbling back and forth because of the wind current as he walks this tightrope. But no matter how much he moves this pole back and forth according to the wind and him crossing that distance across the tightrope from one location to the other location, he knows that the most important aspect of this whole journey is that middle tightrope. Without that middle tightrope, he won't be able to be balancing back and forth. So no matter how much you balance to the left, she's wrong, I hate her. When you balance to the right, he's wrong, I hate him. You can feel what you want to feel. You can emote whatever you want to emote. You can be emotional about whatever you want to be emotional about. But you never fall victim to emotional, hate, love, feelings. You stay within the middle as these two sides are bouncing back and forth. And this is polarity. Oh, this is principle, pardon me. Principle is basically saying that we're just communicating. It's not saying hate, love. It's saying interaction. It's not saying how could he say this and how could she say that. It's saying communication. You understand? It's not saying how could he do this? How could she do that? It's saying interaction. And these are things that you basically, or anybody and everybody basically comes together for the purpose of these principles to be at hand and to interface with these principles or interface with the person through the interaction of these principles, and interaction being a principle itself. And so it's basically remaining or knowing how to remain untouched at the same time you're making contact with an opposite polarity or complementary polarity or reflection of yourself. Not getting caught in the human drama. See, not getting stuck within the brain, remaining the mind, but not getting entrapped within the brain and the skull and becoming judgmental and emotional and causing turmoil and chemical reactions in order to make you emotional for potential sickness or an ailment or imbalance to occur within your biology. You know how to stay out that whole thing. And this is principle. Principle. This is why it's relevant to understand what principle is and what it stands for and why it is so, why I make it, it's very important according to my understanding to remain in that middle pillar, in that middle world, while two humans interact with each other. We're going to convey feelings and emotions to each other. But where are you when these bodies and these feelings emanate and convey emotions and feelings to each other? You should be in the middle while these things occur because you have a principle understanding that it is just something in the middle in order for these two existence or these two experiences to interact with each other. And you never fall too far to the right and you never fall too far to the left. You remain in the middle. Knowing that this is just a transaction and extraction of energies and communication. You never get too personal. You don't personalize yourself. You don't get so drowned in the ego or the identity which you think you are, or that image that you portray to be in the mirror. It's a self-realization. Oh, I realize I'm not even this damn body to begin with. I realize I'm not even this personality which I think I am. I realize I'm not even this, this body or this tissue or none of this. I'm none of this. This is not who I truly am at my most primordial point of existence. This is not my least common denomination that I'm seeing in the mirror, but I'm seeing in the glass, or that I'm seeing in the reflection of the water. This is not who and what I truly am at my beginning point and my end point of existence. This is just the illusional experience which I'm having. And I have to have a middle point existing understanding and wisdom of what these two polarities are doing and playing as characters, behaviors, personalities, identities. Learn how to let the personality, character, behavior, and identity play with each other. And you find somewhere else to be in the middle. That's the whole point. Like I told you before, you're not mad at her because her doesn't exist to that degree. You're not mad at him because he doesn't exist to that degree. You projected him. You projected her through your needs, wants, and desires, and your void, which needs to be fulfilled. Void and fulfillment are just principles, once again. Desire and possession are just principles, once again. So principles is not a person. It doesn't have a body. It is a principle. You are a person with a persona which takes things personal according to your personality. But your personality only created according to your own experience, your personal experience. According to how your family raised you, your parents raised you, things that you experienced. But it's all, you have to understand, this whole thing that we call an experience is just an accumulation. It's just a gathering. It's just a collection that wrapped itself around the nucleus of you. So you're this nucleus and experience, collection, accumulation, gathering, but never lose focus of this one point or this one dot in the middle, which is what you truly are. Learn how to let the collection go. Learn how to let the gathering go. Learn how to let the accumulation go and still remain that middle point, regardless of the circle that the middle point creates around its own middle points. This is principle. This is personality. This is character. This is behavior. This is identity. But this middle dot remains principle, which is what you truly are. This is who you are. This is what you are. It's a difference. So being in principle is remaining in this middled zone of existence, regardless of your experience and how your experience unfolds and reveals itself to you. Regardless of all that, this is principality, this is principle. Remain the existence. Don't get lost in the experience. This is principle. Learn how to be a body. Learn how to have a clothing line. Learn how to dress. Learn to do what you want to do. Put on whatever image you want to put on for the people, or your video cast, or your whatever you want to do, but don't get lost in this mask and this costume. This is just a mask and costume. You are hidden in plain sight. I am in plain sight, but this sight that is plain to you is actually hiding something which you cannot see with your eyes. The eyes can only give you an illusion. But the I, the letter I, is the true reality of who you are and what you are, pardon me, what you are. Not the who, because the who deals with identity. Okay. So let's get into the next line, the next doorway. Um, Next line of doorway is a lot of personality bashing and ego colliding between male and female parties. Now, what happens when the platform for the personality is no longer there as a battleground for potential conflict? Now, you can practice this craft or this technique when you get into certain kind of arguments or confrontations with your mate or your significant other or your wife or your husband or your fiance or your partner or your companion, whoever or whatever you want to call them. This is what you practice. You're going to see in the midst of an argument a lot of personality bashing, a lot of ego colliding between you and them at that moment when it's happening. But if you're in principle mode, then you let that go on because you know the brain and the animalistic nature that you are. And the ego likes to call each other the worst things in the world. It likes to say the worst things to each other because it's a battle and a battleground, animal against animal, ego against ego. But as this battleground happens, as this battleground is going on, where are you? Because if you are here and she is here, or you are here and he is here, and you are middle, as these two things battle, you are the middle principle. You both remain in the middle pillar or the middle reality of where principle is at. While the brains battle, while the egos battle, while the animals battle, sooner or later you're going to come to a point where you're going to look at it for a minute and remain silent. You're going to look at each other with mad faces and all that crazy energy. And then all of a sudden, you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh at the situation and you're going to laugh at each other because you have a more divine understanding, a more metaphysical understanding, an occult understanding of what actually just truly took place. And what just actually truly took place has nothing to do with what you are. Only the who that you appear to be. So let the who's battle each other, while the what just witnesses what's going on. This is principle, 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 principle. This is what I mean by principle. Understand? So being principle is like being untouchable. Being principle is just being the witness to the action which is taking place in the moment, but remaining in your moment, staying in your moment, being your moment, while the doers are just doing, and being able to witness this. At the same time, you may be involved in doing this and participating in this whole thing going on. There's an aspect of you which is actually witnessing what your personality and identity is doing, but something is witnessing all this going on. That's principle. So be able to be the one having the experience and at the same time be able to be the one which is witnessing the experience going on at the same time. So be the experience, but also witness the experience and what's going on. Be able to witness it. At the same time, you're being it and involved in it and participating in it and maybe actually causing things to happen. Your physical form, your personality, your ego, your identity is making things happen. The brains are battling, the animals are battling, your animalistic nature is battling, but you are somewhere else in the middle. So one is going like this, and another aspect of you is going like this. Be the one creating the experience and be the one within the existence witnessing the experience taking place and happening. That's the whole mastering and the technique of being principle and remaining principle. Because as long as you're principle, it's going to be a challenge to start taking things personal, because you're not going to really care about what's really personal. You're going to begin to let go. And this is not a popular path for individuals who uh, indulge into human relationships. This is not a very popular path, because we tend to take things in principle and others take things personal. So as you're indulging into the understanding and understanding of principle, it's going to be a lot more difficult, or let me say a lot more challenging for you to take things personal, because you're not going to want to hold on to anything, because there's nothing to hold on to. You're going to want to let go and continue your fun with this person and this experience. And it may weird them out. They may not understand why you're doing what you're doing or where you're coming from, and how you could just let an argument that was going on for 10 minutes just go like that. 2 minutes later, you just don't care. You can't hold on to it. You genuinely can't hold on to it, because there's no body for it, for you to grasp it, to hold it and say, no, I'm going to hate her, I'm going to hate him, I'm going to hold this every day by day, minute by minute, moment by moment. I'm going to always constantly hate her and hate him, and this is it. Because you can't do that when you're in principle mode. It's impossible, because principle is the opposite of personal. You get it? It's the opposite. How can you be in principle mode and still take something personal and then hold that thing as a personal judgment against another or the other? Can't do it. It's not going to work. This path is not popular for relationships. The path I'm on is not popular for relationships. It only works when the other is also just as in tuned, or is in tune to a certain degree, where it kind of makes it complementing to each other. We understand that when we get into an agreement or disagreement, or an argument or a confrontation, that we always have this middle world as these things go back and forth. As these things go back and forth, we remain in the middle, no matter where it goes. We remain here. So we're always able to neutralize that at some point. We mutualize the energy and neutralize the energy. And we always remain back here, no matter what, at some point. Because we realize that this is asinine. This is irrelevant, going back and forth. Because we know that we're going to end up here anyway. So how long are we going to keep playing in these battlegrounds when we actually don't hate each other and don't really dislike each other like that? You put on an act. You're acting. And that's also another thing dealing with principle and principalities, that you realize that you're just an actor. How can you take an actor serious? How can you take it's just a script? It's just roles that you're playing. But you have to be able to jump out of that role and get back to principle, or acknowledge principle. You have to be able to do that in a snap of a finger. Okay? I guess we'll go to the next doorway. The next doorway is be principle before personality. That's what I was just touching upon. As you interact and embrace each other for each other's principle or principles, a new personality will begin to grow from that interplay and interaction. Let the structure or the structuring of a personality grow and or sprout from the foundation of principality. So basically saying that you don't necessarily have to be stuck and glued to this personality which you think that you are. Let principality be. Just be in the middle. Let personalities interact with each other, or remain in the middle world, remain in the middle reality, always, regardless of what's going on from side to side. Just remain here. Let this go on. Let this happen. But just remain here. Be able to be a witness to both sides. I can witness this side happening. I can witness this side happening. And I see it. My personality or my identity or my character or behavior may be arguing or having a confrontation or a disagreement with somebody, but there's also another side of me, or another aspect of me, or another reality of me, which is just like this. And that's the whole point, is being able to be both of these polarities. But while you're being both of these polarities, you're still somewhere in the middle while you're balancing these two things going on. And that takes some control and discipline, knowledge of self, and wisdom of your surroundings, who you are, what you are, where you're at, and how these things act around you, and what this whole place is about. It takes a little knowing of that. And as you realize and recognize and start to be this principle rather than doing who you think you are, doing the personality, or doing what the personality calls for, doing what the behavior calls for, doing what the character is, and playing out this act. You have to learn how to be. Because remember, if you're only doing from a station of being, which means a structure can only build because it has a foundation. Without the foundation, there is no building of a structure. So no matter what you build, you better always be aware of the foundation which every structure is built upon and destroyed on and then built upon again. Never lose focus or awareness of the foundation which every structure is built upon. Because there would be no building or personality or an experience or anything that you're having without the foundation of your existence. So always pay homage to your beginning point. Okay? Be principle. Recognize principle. Realize principle. Be principle. Do what you want to do, but whatever you're doing, while you're doing it, always remain in principle mode. Something which is not a person, something which is not personal. It just is. And I'm going to get more clear on what it is. Okay? The next line of doorway is, these are basically just giving a list of what principles are, and we can go down, I guess, like maybe 20 some of them, and I'll just give a few principles. Principles are acknowledgement, attention, focus, concentration, communication, correction, chemistry, care, love, comfort, nurture, satisfaction, appreciation, compassion, interaction, touch, contact, intimacy, intercourse, covenant, hospitality, gratitude, acceptance, permission, freedom, expression. These are basically principles. So it's something that's in the middle in order for two things to be. Without this thing in the middle, these two things couldn't interact through the membrane or through the bridge of these principles. So principles is something in the middle, and the middle is something like a bridge. This bridge is there so that these two things can get from one side of the bridge to the other: communication, interaction, interfacing, intimacy, intercourse, chemistry, you know, one giving attention to the other, acknowledgement to the other. They're crossing this bridge, and this bridge is this middle thing, which is principle. Without principle, or this middle pillar, or this middle thing, there would be no bridging of the gap between two polarities. This is why No matter who you meet or who you come across and you make them your mate or your significant other, it's relevant according to this path to always acknowledge and give attention to principle, because without principle, you two would not be. There would be no bridging of one side to the other. You wouldn't be able to talk to him or to talk to her if it wasn't for the middle of me. And the middle of me is the I, which is principle, which is what you are. It's another aspect of yourself which you don't truly know, which you're not supposed to know, because it just is in order for you to be. There has to be something in the middle in order for two sides to be glued together. There has to be something in the middle, which is called care, in order for two people to project to each other and emanate to each other how they feel, interacting, interfacing, all going through this middle thing, a connection, chemistry between two people, touch from one side to the other, contact from one side to the other, hospitality, acceptance of one another, expressing, an expression. This middle thing is called expression. In order for these two things to express themselves to each other, you have to have a thing called expression in order for expressing to be. So always give acknowledgement. I don't want to say homage. Always give acknowledgement and realize and recognize this middle thing, which is in order for you and you to be. Without this middle thing, there would be no transacting, extracting, interacting, interfacing between two things. And they're really not two things, actually one thing. That principle is actually related and closely connected to what you know as spirit or spirituality or what is spiritual. Because remember, it's not you talking to him and him talking to her, and that's not truly what this is about. This is spirit looking at itself, interfacing with itself, talking to itself, making contact with itself, touching itself. It's not you touching her or her touching him. Intimacy or intercourse is the stick in the hole, making it whole. So the stick in the hole, HOLE, is making the spirit whole, WHOLE. It's the androgynous energy, androgyny. And this even goes back to understanding of gods and goddesses. The more you look deeper and deeper into gods and goddesses, dealing with indigenous culture and ancient technology, all gods look half male and half female, or half male and half female. Every single god looks male with femaleish and female with maleish or male-like. They have both qualities. This is the marriage and the mirage of both entities, but the marriage of the energy, which is nothing but spirit. You think you're mingling and interacting, and spirit is just hidden while you're mingling and interacting. And as soon as that injection or intercourse, intimacy comes in play, or that connection happens, spirit rises and imbues itself because it now made contact and connection with itself. It is the middle thing. It is the middle pillar. It is principle. Okay? That's another way to understand it. Okay, let's go into the next line. The next line in doorway is, it's not too many more. Acknowledging principles and interacting as a principle within the law of principality keeps you, take that hat off, keeps you in a mutual harmony of silence within yourself. So basically, acknowledging principles and interacting as a principle with the law of principality, it keeps you in a mutual harmony of silence within yourself. A zero state of being with deep awareness. Okay. Patience and consideration for all things in existence as well. So, um, pardon me. Um, Acknowledging principles, acknowledging what is principle, and interacting as a principle that you are, as the principle that you are. It keeps you in a mutual harmony of sounds within yourself, a zero state of being, with deep awareness, patience, and considerations for all things in existence. So basically, this is saying that it's keeping you within a certain kind of understanding, and it's zeroing you out. It's making you zero again. It's keeping you at a zero state of existence, at a zero state of being, and which is basically your true nothing, your true zero, your true emptiness, which is where you actually want to truly be and remain at. Because while you are being someone and something, you also still get to remain in this middle pillar of just nothing and zero. So that's the whole point. It keeps you at the zero state of being so you can accumulate as much as you want. You can be as much as you want. You can do as much as you want. But while you still remain in a zero state, in a middle pillar of just zeroness or emptiness. So it keeps you free, it keeps you flowing. That's what also principality or principle promotes. Keeps you in a nice flow to become anything. Like Bruce Lee said, be like water, my friend. He means basically you pour water into a cup, water becomes a cup. You pour water into a bowl, water becomes a bowl. You know what I'm saying? You pour water into a tub, water becomes the shape of the tub. So be at the zero state, at this clear state, at this translucent state, at this transparent state of existence. Because you get to be anything, be any color and any shape in existence, in every shape in existence. If you just understand how to truly be nothing. And to truly be nothing is to have a clear understanding of what is principle and to be it when needed and required or desired by the situation or you at hand. Okay, and you also have consideration for all things because you're not in judgment mode. You're not emotional. You're not judging. You're not dealing with emotion. You see? So, principle teaches you a lot of things. It can teach you a lot of things. It can make you aware to a lot of things. If you just be it and embrace it for a minute, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in this whole topic that I'm touching upon and how it makes more and more sense. Because you're not a person, you're not a personal thing, you're not taking things personally, you're not a personality, you're not putting on a persona, and you're able to put a mask on and take the mask off when you want to. You're able to put a costume on and take the costume off when you feel like taking it off, and to truly be nothing. The nothing which accumulated is something and is someone which you appear to be in the mirror, but not truly are in reality. You're able to utilize this device in this body and this skin and this image for whatever purpose you choose to, because you remain in principle, you remain in the middle, you remain neither here nor there. It's neither important or relevant. You just are. You're just being. You just be whatever it is that you are. Minus the identity, personality, character, and behavior of who you project to be. Okay? One thing, of course, personality. Um, okay, guess we can jump into the next line. It's about maybe two, three more. Next line or next dimension is the more you worship the principles, dealing with worshiping the principles, the more the principles follow you from one partner to the next or one person to the next. While the person or people disappear, the principles remain the same. The person is not really with you or really there in existence, but the principles are. Once again, this is just a foundation, a middle foundation, a middle pillar for you and that individual or that being to be, to have something going to interact and interface, intimate intercourse, interplay, whatever you want to call it. It's inside of itself. It is itself mingling with itself, talking from a spiritual point of view. It is spirit being itself, as itself, in a certain kind of fooling of itself to have um, its own kind of separate personality to have this one experience. It's the thing in the middle. Spirit and principle is the thing in the middle. These two people or two individuals are just projections of the thing in the middle. Just like your past and your future can only be born or seen from your present moments. So, present or moment is the mommy and daddy of both past and future. Because you can only talk about the past and the present, you can only talk about the future and the present. So, therefore, presence overrides all. The middle overrides all. And give an example of biology. You have your left brain hemisphere, you have your right brain hemisphere. Your left brain hemisphere and your right brain hemisphere sprouted from the thing in the middle called your corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is the thing in the middle of your left brain hemisphere and your right brain hemisphere. It is the thing in the middle which sprouted both of these things to be, which is why you say sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, sometimes things are wrong, sometimes things are right, sometimes things are pure, or she's evil, he's pure, he's evil. Judgment, 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 emotion. You begin to get imprisoned within the body because somewhere along the line you lost or didn't come in contact or in the knowing of self with the reality of principality. You didn't somewhere you didn't get it. You don't know where you're at. You don't know how this thing operates and how you operate. And you have no idea, no clue of where you're at, what you are, and how this place and these beings operate and function around you. So therefore you have no knowledge of self, of yourself. This is how you become trapped and entrapped inside this embodiment. Okay? That's why you don't think the prisons and stuff like that, they have cells or put you in a cell. You become trapped and you're doing time. Time is the body. You're doing time because now you're stuck in time because you're not the moment, because you're not spiritual and you're not principle. You get stuck in time. You get stuck in time. Things of the physical, because this thing can only grow within time. You're doing time in a cell, which are cells in your blood. The body is a time vehicle which accumulates and gathers over time. And you get lost in this shit if you're not the moment and you don't remain the moment. You don't remain principle and you have no spiritual understanding. So therefore you lose your whole middle world and your whole middle world just explodes. And you're stuck in this physical vehicle doing time in a cell, cellular structure, cellular biology, cellular chemistry. You get stuck in this cell, the cellular doing time in this time vehicle. It has nothing to do with no jail or prison out there. It has nothing to do with nothing. That's all metaphysical representations of what's going on inside of you. Those are some metaphysical subliminals. If you really understand what doing time in a cell actually truly means, you're doing time because you believe in time and you believe time exists. You have no knowledge of your moment. You get to know the moment. Getting to know moment is getting to understand what principle is and principality is. Understanding what principle is means that you now crossed over into the understanding of what is spirit and what is spiritual. And how none of these sides don't exist and never have existed to begin with, including you, including your identity and your personality. You don't exist. I don't exist. Okay? Matter of fact, the I of me exists, but the me doesn't exist. Never had existed. Never can. The next line or doorway is, why do principles like need, want, and desire exist? Well, because there's always something more to know about someone and something. That's why principles like need, want, and desire exist, because there's always something more to know about someone and or something. These are principles. Need, want, and desire are principles. Why do they exist? It's like an ongoing. It's like something in constant continuation of itself. So regardless of what you think, you know, you don't know, because there's always more to know from that point that you think you know. So knowing only opens more doorways to other things that you don't know, may come in contact with, and have never known, and may never know. Okay, that's what knowing is. True knowing is knowing that you'll never know. This is why you should never go crazy relationship wise. Why you should never go crazy trying to understand someone or some situation. Because the more you know, the more there's more to know. Understand what I just said? The more that you know, the more there is more to know. It's a never ending phenomenon. That's why true knowing is never, ever knowing. Truly. There's always room left for more to explore. Always. There's always more room left for more to explore about someone or something or some situation or things happening, things occurring. There's always room left for more to explore. Okay? That's why principles like need, want, and desire exist to keep an ongoing thing. So you remain in continuation. You're never satisfied with what you know, because once you know that you know there's always more to know. It's an ever unfolding thing. Constant revelation, which is why you remain once again in principle. You never fall to, I know everything. I know all there is to know. No, you keep going forward. Oh, this is all there is to history. I know all of history. You keep going forward. This is all to the mystery system. I know everything about ancestry, my ancestors, the mystery system, metaphysics. Nah, you keep on going. You never fall in this mental back and forth dialogue because you know that it doesn't exist. You stay in the middle. You stay as principle, regardless of your person, your personal, and your personality. Remain in the middle as principle and principality. Grab a hold of your middle existence, not the side to side experience that the experience itself is having. Okay? Learn to let the experience have fun while existence remains true to its own existence. Okay? That's the whole point. Let let the play happen. Let it play. You remain somewhere else. Okay? You find yourself somewhere else to be. Make it your business. Um, two more things, two more lines and doorways. The next line and doorway is emotion and feeling are realized and utilized as tools for awakening, interesting self challenges, self discoveries, and self explorings. This is what being principle um, creates. When certain things happen, you become emotional, you come into your feelings. What is known as emotion and what is known as feelings are realized because they come to the surface of you. Instead of you acting and reacting to it, you respond to it because you are responsible now, because you are aware. So once you become aware, you become a responsible entity, a responsible thing now, because you're aware. Therefore, you can no longer fall victim or become fooled by your emotions and your feelings. They are things that are now realized and recognized by you, the aware and conscious being, and now are utilized as tools for your own awakening. They're utilized as tools for interesting self challenges. They're not looked at as good or bad. They're just interesting now. They're just a self challenge. They're just an awakening that you use for your own awakening, or what they call the quickening. or what is known as a quickening as well. These are now just self-discoveries. You're discovering things about yourself. It's not neither good nor bad. You're not falling into the feeling or the emotion depths of these functions and operations of the body. You're no longer anchored into the body anymore because you remain out in the middle. You remain in the middle. These are just self-explorings. You're exploring different aspects of yourself. You're exploring different angers, different madnesses, different being pissed off. You're exploring different um, uh, projections of yourself. And you're not taking it personal because you know that these are just projections of yourself. You don't give a damn. Like, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is just what this body created, what this experience created. I'm not taking it personal because it's not truly me to begin with. I'm going to let it play out and express itself how it wants to, but I'm not going to get caught and fooled and blinded and and become dumb to the expression that it's becoming or that it's expressing itself as to another or to others or to an environment or an atmosphere or situation or whatever may be happening, a circumstance that may be unfolding. I'm not a victim to that anymore. I'm gonna let the emotion be emotion. I'm gonna let feeling be feeling. I'm gonna let thought be thought. But I'm gonna always remain in the middle while these things are expressing itself in different avenues and different directions of this one monad of expression, of this one monad of existence is expressing itself as the experience that it appears to be. But no matter how much this experience appears to be expressing itself from the monad of its existence, I'm going to always remain true to my principle, my middle pillar, my middle reality, my true reality, which is principle, my true existence. Okay, so just giving you a little homework, little mind work, heart work as well. And the last line and doorway is its principle is the middle reality which exists in order for the polarity of dimensions to hold an experience. In other words, it is, therefore, you are. Understand what I just said and what I just did. It is, its polarity, principle is, principle is in order for polarity to be. It is, therefore you are. It is, therefore you are. Without the it is, there is no are of who you think you are, besides what it truly is, what it always has been, and what it always will be, and can never be otherwise of itself. So, once again, remain principled, don't fall too deep into the personal. The personality is just an illusion, and that's just an experience. Remain the existence or the existential aspect of yourself, the middle pillar, the middle world, the middle thing, which is the bridge for both experiences to cross over and have an experience on the foundation of his existence, which is true principle. Let the personalities mingle while principality remains the same. Stay in the middle. Remain true principle, because that's what you truly are. Am I as I am, as you are. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'll keep you in vision. 1. 0.